Alright, let's make this a quick one because I want to go play Overwatch. But, we're gonna talk about discussion etiquette here because... Not etiquette, like, if you want to ask questions, which you are encouraged to do in one of the many public Discord servers, especially our GSC server, there are a few things to keep in mind. Your credibility, their credibility, and deference. Here's what we're going to start with. We're ignoring that part. I am new here. What do I do? Is my team good? We look at this, and it's a little bit of a mess. The Blissey set works with the Lax and commonly is paired with Cloy, but this team's kind of all over the place. It's trying to be a stall team, but it doesn't have any longevity. Belly Drum Lax is something that should exclusively be found on stall or hyper offense. Blissey should never be seen unless it's on stall. This Tar is fine. Tar is fine here. I like Rest Tar on Blissey stuff. I think Crunch, Pursuit, Roar, Rest is great with Blissey offering the Mono Tar facilitation stuff. Non-Rest Zapdos should never be used in combination with Blissey. Like, I don't understand. Cloy here, Cloy Bliss is a thing. Usually you'll swap out Rest for Toxic because Blissey will take advantage of the Zapdos switching in and be able to help heal Bellier or Cloyster. And then Gengar on stall is not a foreign thing, but Missy is far better on Blissey teams. Gengar fits more on Ku stall, but I like Missy and Ku stall as well. So that's the team we're talking about. When you're discussing in here, generally, it's good to be concise in what you're talking about. And this person does do a great job of specifying what they're talking about. He specifies Curse-Lax is a major problem, and he believes is a major issue in dealing with steelix. This is a little bit weird that he qualifies it with while Tyranitar has Fire Blast, a sufficiently boosted steelix can tank one and Oko Tyranitar with EQ. Usually in discussions, you try and avoid theoretical situations that don't come up all that often, like steelix having a couple boosts. Because this team is actually pretty dang good into steelix. You have a Cloyster, and you have a Zapdos with Hidden Power Water. Like, steelix has to boom on Zap to touch it. And we're not getting into the conjecture of, what if it's Rock Slide instead of Boom Licks? We don't talk about that set in this context, because you assume standard and not the really niche sets teched out to beat very specific teams. Then he qualifies partially conjecture, because I'm not too familiar with GSC. Experienced players, please correct me if I'm wrong here. So this is fine because he's new. He's trying to help. He's like, I looked at the viability rankings and picked some I like to form a game plan. I don't know what the meta is, come from Gen 1. No wonder. I understand now. I understand why you put a Blissey on your team. Okay. So it's the new guy talking further. Usually, you'll wait to weigh in after you've said experienced players correct me until someone has. And then you'll get into discussion with the experienced player, and that's how you learn a lot about the tier. I think that's a fantastic way to learn, is just get in discussions like that. So, when you're teaching someone new, oh no, never talk about personal experience unless it's unless it's the case study example type thing. But just as a general aside, don't talk about your personal experience. Say most Snorlax sets run Curse. The fact that Snorlax is the best Pokemon in Ubers is not relevant here. Skarmory counters Curse-Lax. Yes, Curse-Lax is... And you're qualifying it with Fire Blast or Thunder. So what you need to make is that you looks like you're trying to run a stall team here. Stall teams will always carry Skarmory because they need it, because it's the best answer to Curse EQ-Lax. In addition to that, to not be murdered by Fire Lax or Lax with Thunder, they pack a Fire Lax check. For example, Tyranitar or Golem. You're just spouting nonsense here. You don't need to talk about the theoreticals of Pokemon. Don't wait. Apparently Raiku's the best counter. You haven't used Raikou? You can just say a Raikou is considered a great. If you're new, don't. Sometimes higher level players in discussions will murder you for saying best, worst, viable, not viable, unviable. Avoid those words if all possible. Why are we talking about Drill Peck here? Okay, yeah, I'm okay with you talking about Ice Beam here. Ice Beam Bliss solely serves the purpose of, like, freeze fishing, basically, and to eventually force Zapdos to rest. I'm much more of a fan of Toxic Flamethrower, because you still force Zapdos to rest, and Flamethrower is just, like, really good with Toxic. I would agree is that Rest Talk Zapdos with Blissey is better. Yes. Now, here's something that is preference. Okay, well, you don't need something to deal with Steelix. Also, EQ Snorlax is not something you use to deal with Steelix. Steelix is used to deal with EQ Snorlax. Just want to state that. You're very, very fine into Cloyster here. Where are you getting a +6 Snorlax from? Steelix is one of the few things that you would be able to tank, like, sure it wouldn't switch in, but it would be able to roar out a +6 Snorlax EQ. Also, if you're calcing, use calcing with +5 Snorlax, because +6 Snorlax is the same as +5. But, take all of this bottle of salt. Yes, I agree. Yes, thank you, Electro Man. What direction? Stall. Oh, I'm opinionated. Whenever someone says boom offense, it hurts me. It hurts me. Archetypes are clearly defined, in my opinion, with strong terminology. Very particular terminology. It is much, much, much clearer to say traditional boom offense, which it's Borat stuff. The Eggy, Zapdos, Steelix, 4 attacks, Lax, Steelix, +1 teams. Those teams are the best way, that's what people will, that's what traditional boom offense is. If you just say boom offense, I get it that you want to put, in the right direction of saying playstyle-wise rather than sub-style-wise, but don't just lead with boom offense. I don't understand people's just innate draw to say, hey, do you want to make this team a boom offense team? And then it's so inconsistent what everyone means by boom offense. Some people just mean it's a team with a Cloyster with explosion on it. And I'm just like, what? And he clearly doesn't want to build a boom offense team if none of his mons have boom. Well, maybe Gengar has it. Okay, good. Yeah, so he's just like, I was putting together a team. You should have an idea in, this is general team building philosophies. Here's the problem. Here's the problem. This guy's new to the tier. He doesn't know how to build around stuff, or why to build around something, or what does it struggle with. I agree with B, though. This is an extreme identity crisis. I think Hypnosis Scars only is fine on ladder, because if you play me, you will never miss your Hypnosis or your Dynamic Punches. Yeah, he's definitely leaning into the Gen 1, where he's like, this is what he's familiar with. That's why I see the Blissey making sense. Yeah. Snorlax set is great. No, B, you're wrong. Fight me in DMs. I'm being very opinionated for the purpose of humor and entertainment. Anyhow. So basically, LK Lax, I think it's better with return. Well, it is. LK Return Belly Drum Rest is a good set. It is a good set. Straight up. Like. And you have, as long as you have a Tyranitar or an Umbreon on that stall team, you can use that set. And it works very well with Blissey. Also, LK is not a distinct direction of drum. Like, it's either, I'd say Protect is, or Boom, just like BP drum, like the hyper offensive stuff that is. No, B. No, don't give him Protect. No, Protect Lax on stall is so bad. You'd so much rather have Lovely Kiss than Protect. Protect Belly Drum Lax solely exists to block Cloyster's explosion, pretty much. That's about it. And sometimes Steelix Boom. That's right. No, Devin, you're right. You're right. No. Oh. I would. It's a good set. It's a really good set. It's a really nasty set, because it gives you the opportunity to drum so much easier, and no one expects the LK Lax. No. With Bliss, you should run rest. Good. Yes, just do EQ. Just do EQ. It's fine. So, I don't know, there's not really much to comment on the discussion quality here, because it's a new player taking advice from seemingly more experienced players. B is definitely more experienced than this guy. I don't know, Electroman, I disagree on B's building philosophy consistently, but they are certainly at least somewhat knowledgeable about the tier. Rest on Snorlax. Yeah, Rest Blissey's bad. Game seems confusing. Oh, well, you scared him off. Oh, well. Sometimes that happens. Perhaps replacing turn. No! Why? See, this is what I'm talking about, is where people are just trying to force people to play boom offense. Like, this team has pretty substantial. You could make this a viable team without changing more than one Pokemon. You could keep it these like 5, change the Gengar to a Missy, and you could have a viable team. Not necessarily a boom team. Oh my goodness. Like, yeah, see, Electromagnet is just like, dude, why are you putting them into a boom team? Something forces your opponent to switch out. Yep. So they're just like talking about Roaring with spikes. Yeah, this guy seems easily overwhelmed. Gen 3 does a lot. Yes, leftovers is standard. No! Oh, that's what bothers me. Is when you're teaching the newest, new people, you don't want to qualify every single statement. This man is clearly overwhelmed with the amount of information you're pummeling at him. So yes, you say leftovers is standard in this. Yes, there is standard in Generation 2. Why do you hate to use sample teams? Sample teams are good. The only other thing I can think of is Miracle Berry. So I don't have all my GC teams. Now they're talking. Oh, this isn't the BKC server. What? I don't know where the sentiment came from in the community. Is that using sample teams isn't helpful in growing as a player. They're so helpful. Sample teams even help me build to this day, because sometimes I'll look over them and be like, hold on. Am I remembering the structure correctly? Like, they're a good resource. And, I'll even use them in building, where I'll just copy one into my builder and then change sets. Because I don't like manually adding in all 6 Pokemon. But yeah, sample teams are actually really helpful. See, they're a shortcut to learning the tier, because you don't need to learn how to build when you're learning the tier. You need to learn how to play the tier, and then learn how to build, and then once you've done that, you can start to truly understand the tier. But first, you need to learn how to play in the tier. See? Scorpion gets it. Totally. Yep, you can just spam the same tier on ladder as much as you'd want. Yeah, there's a smoke on analysis. The sample teams have an explanation. Most people don't realize this. The sample team thread has detailed explanations on every sample team. Or at least the general archetypes. I don't know if it might actually go into detail on every single Nidotar team on there, and that's awful. I feel bad for Ciaton just thinking about it, that he had to write that. GC ladder's not good. Ew. Why is I don't even want to look at reflect Q. So basically what I'm getting at is I just was seeing people take this discussion in a really, really bizarre direction. And it was just like, what is going on? LK is not standard for stall lax, but it is standard for that type of lax. For Blissey all-in on lax teams, it's pretty common there. Yeah, the all-in on lax teams. That's just like, as soon as lax dies, you literally don't have a way to win the game. Other than PP stall them, those teams are incredibly, they usually use LK lax. Why are you breeding more stall players? Because stall is good at absolutely stomping the low ladder, and it's way easier to learn. Past teams are bad, except they're just messy. They're all in on lax teams, so you just can't play yourself out of bad matchups. Or once your chain is broken, kind of. When I say chain in DSC, I don't mean the BP to another BP to B to another BP to BT to BP to BT to BP to BP. No, I don't mean that type of BP chain. I mean your momentum allowing you to constantly PP to your threats. As soon as you're disrupted and you have to get your, as soon as one of those threats is in without one of the boosts it so needs, or in against something it loses to in the 1v1, as soon as those teams can't facilitate their 1v1s that they need, they just lose. Missy's pretty good. Ew, why are you... Ugh. Any reason... It's an old link. Yeah, so if you don't have hidden power, it's probably because you clicked HPIs and then changed it in the builder. Holy cow. So, if I'm talking to this guy... I'm gonna say, hey, your team has a lot of synergy built into it, and we can change the minimal possible things to keep it, its identity, because it has some identity, and it's change guard to Missy, and then give Zapdos sleep talk, rest sleep talk, and preferably Thunder. I think Thunder, because para good on Zapdos. But if I'm building this archetype, I like Umbreon over. I like the Restar I talked about earlier, Crunch Pursuit, Rest, Roar. To really take advantage of Blissey's Heal Bell support, and to really just kind of bully things that are weak to Dark. And then the Missy set should probably be Pain Split Psychic. Yeah, or at least Toxic Psychic. It should have Toxic and Psychic. It can be traditional Disruptor. It can, it should have Psychic, though. Maybe. And I think the real biggest thing you could do for this team is actually drop the Missy. Actually, no, what am I talking about? Let's not change the Garda Missy. Let's change the, because there are pseudo-stall, semi-stall teams. The one type of semi-stall I think is usable that use Tyranitar, Rest Tyranitar as their only lax check, formal lax check. Formal EQ lax check, that is. There are stuff, there's usually Milk Tank stuff that'll do that, that'll drop Scarm. For Tar. I don't dislike that team, but it's a little weak to EQ lax, especially EQ Body Slam. But if you change that Gengar to a Skarmory, maybe a Sleep Talk one, but you need more insurance against Machamp. You need at least 2 Mons that Machamp doesn't cleanly beat. So Skarmory and Zapdos, and then give Zapdos Rest Talk, and you're good. So that's how I approach this type of discussion.